advisors argued that the economy was so strong following our historic tax and regulatory cuts that it didn't make sense to risk rocking the boat. After the meeting, as I walked with my father back towards the residence, he said, "You know, the reason this has never been done before is because our leaders haven't had the guts. When the economy is good, they settle for good, and when things are bad, they don't have the will or ability, so they kick the can until it's someone else's problem." He was right. If my father didn't take on these fights, no one would. In the months that followed, President Trump refused to settle for a good deal. He wanted a great deal, and ultimately, that is exactly what we got. I remember each time he was updated on the progress of the new trade deal with Mexico and Canada, he would say, "Don't let down those dairy farmers I met in Wisconsin. I don't want them to like this deal. I want them to love it." Today, in the midst of this unprecedented global pandemic, it's more clear than ever that our president was absolutely correct to take on trade when he did and bring our jobs, our factories, and our life-saving medicines back to the USA. As our nation endures this grave trial, I pray for the families who are mourning the loss of a loved one, for those who are battling COVID-19, and for the first responders and the healthcare heroes who remain on the front line of this fight. The grief, sorrow, and anxiety during this time is felt by all. I've been with my father, and I've seen the pain in his eyes when he receives updates on the lives that have been stolen by this plague. I have witnessed him make some of the most difficult decisions of his life. I sat with him in the Oval Office as he stopped travel to Europe. I watched him take the strongest, most inclusive economy in a lifetime, the lowest unemployment in a half century, and the highest wage increase for working families in decades, and close it down to save American lives.
He didn't. States' governors do that.
It is why our president rapidly mobilized the full force of government and the private sector to produce ventilators within weeks, to build the most robust testing system in the world, and to develop safe and effective treatments, and very, very soon a vaccine.
We still don't have enough
My
tests.
father isn't deterred by defeatist thinkers.
Your father is a turd.
The word impossible, well, it only motivates him. Donald Trump rejects the cynical notion that this country's greatest achievements are behind us. He believes that nothing is beyond our reach and that the best is yet to come. I have seen all of my life how my dad believes in the potential of each individual. Earlier this evening, we were all inspired by the incredible testimony of Alice Johnson, a great-grandmother who was sentenced to life in prison for a first-time nonviolent drug offense. I was with my father when he decided to commute Alice's life sentence. Together, we watched Alice leave prison after nearly 22 years. As she ran into the arms of her family and they celebrated a joyful reunion, my father got very quiet. I could see the emotion on his face. After a long silence, he looked at me and said, "Imagine how many people there are just like Alice." From that point on, he became a voice for those who had been unfairly silenced in our prison system. President Trump rectified the disparities of the 1994 Biden crime bill that disproportionately hurt African Americans. Against all odds, he brought together Republicans and Democrats and passed the most significant criminal justice reform of our generation, and we're just getting started. My father did not campaign on this issue. He tackled this injustice because he has a deep compassion for those who have been treated unfairly. More than rhetoric and political prose, the ability to build consensus and achieve bipartisan success will help heal our country's racial inequities and bring us forward together. President Trump is advancing the American values of work and family. 4 years ago in Cleveland, I said President Trump would deliver for working women. Last year, over 70% of all new jobs were secured by women. Four years ago, I told you my father would focus on making childcare affordable and accessible. In President Trump's first term, we secured the largest ever increase for childcare funding, giving more than 800,000 low-income families great childcare at a cost they can afford. As part of Republican tax cuts, in 2019 alone, our child tax credit put over $2,000 into the pockets of 40 million American families.
I'm here, Danielle.
Democrat politicians recently introduced a plan to increase the child tax credit.
This just all
Yet
makes
when
me
I was
sick.
fighting less than 3 years ago at the president's direction to get Congress to double the child tax credit, not a single Democrat voted to pass the law. We got it done anyway. Four years ago, I promised that President Trump would support mothers in the workforce. In his first year in office, he signed into law the first ever national paid leave tax credit. Today, 8 million more Americans.
The chat window doesn't seem to be working properly, so that's the YouTube chat window. If you want to chat, jump over to youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. That's youtube.com/KevinLeeFather. It's passing right here. There you go. youtube.com/KevinLeeFather if you want to chat.
Outside of the workforce. 4 years ago, I told you I would fight alongside my father, and 4 years later, here I am.
Still don't understand what you're doing there.
Many of the issues my father has championed are not historically Republican priorities. Yet where Washington chooses sides, our president chooses common sense. Where politicians choose party, our president chooses people. Since the day he took the oath of office, I've watched my father take on the failed policies of the past and do what no leader has done before. Recently, he took dramatic action to cut the cost of prescription drugs, despite fielding angry calls from the CEOs of nearly every major pharmaceutical company. Now, when we see attack ads paid for by Big Pharma, my dad smiles and says to me, "You know, we're doing something really right if they're hitting us so hard."
Watch a lot of TV, do you? The guy who never
This
stops working.
spring, our president saw that American crops were going to waste because food supply chains were disrupted by the virus. He directed Secretary Perdue and me to find a way to get this nutritious food, fresh fruit, vegetables, meat, and dairy, to families most in need. Within a matter of days, we launched the Farmers to Family Food Box program, which has now delivered over 100 million meals into the hands of American families.
That's good.
To protect the
Nobody's
most
wearing a
vulnerable
mask.
among us, I've worked alongside the president as he signed into law 9 pieces of legislation to combat the evil of human trafficking. I've stood by my father's side at Dover Air Force Base as he's received our fallen heroes, and each time it has steeled his resolve to finally stop the endless foreign wars. To change the paradigm in the Middle East, he took a fresh approach. I heard foreign leaders beg him not to move the American embassy to Jerusalem, yet he delivered on a promise also made and unfulfilled by past presidents because my father knew that it was the right thing to do.
And people died, including a child.
Defying all expectations, just weeks ago, he rewrote history again by making a peace agreement in the Middle East, the biggest breakthrough in a quarter century.
It's just between Israel and UAE.
For the first time in a long time, we have a president who has called out Washington's hypocrisy, and they hate him for it. Dad, people attack you for being unconventional, but I love you for being real, and I respect you for being effective. Our president refuses to surrender his beliefs to score point with the political elite. To my father, you are the elite. You are the only people he cares about scoring points with. If these problems were easy to solve, previous presidents would have done so. But you don't achieve different results by doing things the same way.
I'm going to be the president for all Americans.
Washington has not changed Donald Trump. Donald Trump has changed Washington.
Yeah, we're now having political rallies at the White House. That's our house. That house belongs to us. There are no more norms.
America doesn't need another empty vessel who will do whatever the media and the fringe of his party demands. Now more than ever, America needs 4 more years of a warrior in the White House.
Okay, who you got in mind?
Tonight, I could not be more proud to introduce my father, a man I know was made for this moment in history. My fellow Americans, our First Lady, and the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Oh, God, this song. I gotta mute it. YouTube will give me a copyright strike. It's doing this proud to be an American song. He's gonna go on forever tonight. Or maybe he isn't. We never know. She's literally wearing a green screen. I could mess with that right now. Let's see. Can I? Let's see. Can I? Let's see. So that's this. They're doing the whole song. Hi, everyone. Yeah, no, I haven't been feeling well the last couple of days. So, what? I usually don't comment on the ladies and what they're wearing, but that is an obnoxious green. That is the color of Winnie the Pooh's shirt? No, he's got a red shirt. What do I know that green from? Oh, I used to work at Disneyland, and it was the color of one of the... They're not gummy bears. Care Bears. One of the Care Bears. Stand up next to you today, 'cause there ain't no sun. I love this land. God bless the USA. La 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 la. There we go. Yeah, she's wearing chroma key. So we can give her any pattern we want to. Hold on, let's close that. Wait for her to come back. Okay. We can. Let's pull up an interesting picture for her. Still doing the song, by the way. Let's see. Tablecloths. No, curtains. Okay, song's over. Here we go. Oh, she's extra. It's too late.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Friends, delegates, and distinguished guests, please. I stand before you tonight, honored by your support, proud of the extraordinary progress we have made together over the last 4 incredible years, and brimming with confidence in the bright future we will build for America over the next 4 years. We begin this evening.
No,
Our thoughts are with the wonderful people who have just come through the wrath of Hurricane Laura. We are working closely with state and local officials in Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi.
Oh, adjusted his mic. Yeah, he has
sparing no effort
always
to save lives. While the hurricane was fierce, one of the strongest to make landfall in 150 years, the casualties and damage were far less than thought possible only 24 hours ago. And this is due to the great work of FEMA, law enforcement, and the individual states. I will be going this weekend, and congratulations, thank you for that great job out there. We really appreciate it. We are one national family, and we will always protect, love, and care for each other. Here tonight are the people who have made my journey possible and filled my life with so much joy. For her incredible service to our
so
nation and its
convincingly.
children,
with
I want to thank our magnificent
joy.
First Lady. Thank you, sweetheart. I also want to thank my amazing daughter, Ivanka, for that introduction, and to all of my children. Ivanka, please stand up. Great job. And to all of my children and grandchildren, I love you more than words can express. I know my brother Robert is looking down on us right now from heaven. He was a great brother and was very proud of the job we are all doing. Thank you. We love you, Robert. Let us also take a moment to show our profound appreciation for a man who has always fought by our side and stood up for our values, a man of deep faith and steadfast conviction, our Vice President, Mike Pence. And Mike is joined by his beloved wife, a teacher, and military mom, Karen Pence. Thank you, Karen. My fellow Americans, tonight, with a heart full of gratitude and boundless optimism, I profoundly accept this nomination for President of the United States.
profoundly.
The Republican Party, the party of Abraham Lincoln, goes forward united, determined, and ready to welcome millions of Democrats, independents, and anyone who believes in the greatness of America and the righteous heart of the American people. In a new term as president, we will again build the greatest economy in history, quickly returning to full employment, soaring incomes, and record prosperity.
Oh, sounds good.
We will defend America against all threats and protect America against all dangers. We will lead America into new frontiers of ambition and discovery, and we will reach for new heights of national achievement. We will rekindle new faith in our values, new pride in our history, and a new spirit of unity that can only be realized through love for our great country. Because we understand that America is not a land cloaked in darkness. America is the torch that enlightens the entire world. Gathered here at our beautiful and majestic White House, known all over the world as the People's House, we cannot help but marvel at the miracle that is our great American story. This has been the home of larger-than-life figures like Teddy Roosevelt and Andrew Jackson, who rallied Americans to bold visions of a bigger and brighter future.
Biden.
Within these walls lived tenacious generals like President Grant and Eisenhower, who led our soldiers in the cause of freedom. From these grounds, Thomas Jefferson sent Lewis and Clark on a daring expedition to cross a wild and uncharted continent. In the depths of a bloody civil war, President Abraham Lincoln looked out these very windows upon a half-completed Washington Monument and asked God, in his providence, to save our nation. 2 weeks after Pearl Harbor, Franklin Delano Roosevelt welcomed Winston Churchill, and just inside, they set our people on a course to victory in the Second World War. In recent months, our nation and the entire planet has been struck by a new and powerful, invisible enemy. Like those brave Americans before us, we are meeting this challenge.
Are we, though?
We are delivering life-saving therapies and will produce a vaccine before the end of the year, or maybe even sooner.
You can't know that, but okay.
We will defeat the virus, end the pandemic, and emerge stronger than ever before. What united generations past was an unshakable confidence in America's destiny and an unbreakable faith
You're not going
in
to
the
mention
American
180,000
people.
dead?
They knew that our country is blessed by God and has a special purpose in this world. It is that conviction that inspired the formation of our union, our westward expansion, the abolition of slavery, the passage of civil rights, the space program, and the overthrow of fascism, tyranny, and communism. This towering American spirit has prevailed over every challenge and lifted us to the summit of human endeavor. And yet, despite all of our greatness as a nation, everything we have achieved is now in danger.
Oh.
This is the most important election in the history of our country.
Take that, George Washington, 9th President of the United States. It's true. George Washington wasn't the first president. He's not the 45th.
Thank you. At no time before have voters faced a clearer choice between two parties, two visions, two philosophies, or two agendas. This election will decide whether we save the American dream or whether we allow a socialist agenda to demolish our cherished destiny. It will decide whether we rapidly create millions of high-paying jobs or whether we crush our industries and send millions of these jobs overseas as has foolishly been done for many decades. Your vote will decide whether we protect law-abiding Americans or whether we give free rein to violent anarchists and
Yep.
agitators
That's
and
what Biden
criminals who threaten
Just free
our
rein to
citizens.
criminals.
And this election will decide whether we
Biden,
will defend
Harris,
the American
Purge
way of
2020.
life or
That's
whether
what-
we will
that's-
allow
that's
a
what's on all
radical
the yard
movement
signs.
to completely dismantle and destroy it. That won't happen.
You know the way that Biden dismantled and destroyed the country for 8 years as vice president?
At the Democrat National Convention, Joe
Democratic.
Biden and his party repeatedly assailed America as a land of racial, economic, and social injustice.
Yeah?
So tonight I
That's
ask
true.
you a simple question. How can the Democrat Party ask to lead our
Democratic.
country when it spends so much time tearing down our country?
Dude, you just went over the American spirit that allowed us to abolish slavery. Change is part of this country. When something isn't working right, you fix it.
In the left's backward view, they do not see America as the most free, just, and exceptional nation on earth. Instead, they see a wicked nation that must be punished for its sins. Our opponents say that redemption for you can only come from giving power to them.
That's weird, though, that
This
Biden
is
would
a
send both his sons
tired anthem
to serve
spoken
the
by
country.
every repressive movement.
That,
throughout
if he hates
history.
the country so much.
But in this
It's odd.
country, we don't look to career politicians for salvation. In America, we don't turn to government to restore our souls. We put our faith in Almighty God.
Apparently, because no one's putting their faith in a mask.
Joe Biden is not a savior of America's soul. He is the destroyer of America's jobs. And if given the chance, he will be the destroyer of American greatness. For 47 years, Joe Biden took the donations of blue-collar workers, gave them hugs and even kisses.
It's a molestation joke. The president just made
And
a
told
joke
them he
about
felt their
molestation.
And then
At
he
the
flew
White
back
House.
to Washington and voted
front of
to
a
ship our
national
jobs
audience.
to China and many other
You know,
distant
kids
lands.
getting raped.
Joe Biden spent his entire career
That guy.
outsourcing their
He's not
dreams
politically correct.
and the dreams of
What
American
the hell
workers,
is happening?
offshoring their jobs, opening their borders, and sending their sons and daughters to fight in endless foreign wars, wars that never ended. 4 years ago,
Yeah,
I ran
that's
for
the
president
endless part.
because I could not watch this betrayal of our country any longer. I could not sit by
I'll have to lean in because this
as
is
career
as high as the mic
politicians let
goes.
other countries take advantage of us on
Yeah,
trade,
Marcy hears me fine.
borders,
What about Maurice?
foreign policy, and national defense. Our NATO partners, as an example, were very far behind in their defense payments. But at my strong urging, they agreed to pay $130 billion more a year, the first time in over 20 years that they upped their payments.
That's not true. They upped them in 2014 and 2015 and 2016. That's just
And
a
this
lie.
$130 billion will
That's just-
ultimately go
this is
to
bullshit.
$400 billion a year. And Secretary General Stoltenberg, who heads NATO,
Is your
was
biggest fan?
amazed after watching for so many years and said that President Trump did what no one else was able to do. Thank you.
The payments went down due to the economic recession because
From the
it's
moment
based
I
on your
left my former
GDP.
life behind, and it was a good life.
And as the economy improved, the payments went up.
I have done nothing but fight for you. I did
Thank you,
what
Kelly.
our
Welcome.
political establishment never expected and could never forgive, breaking the cardinal rule of Washington politics. I kept my promise. Together, we have ended the rule of the failed political class, and they are desperate to get their power back by any means necessary.
Well,
You've seen that.
election.
They are angry at me because instead of putting them first, I very simply said, America first.
That is very simple. Did you say that to Putin when you talked to him about putting a bounty on the heads of our soldiers? Did that come up?
Days after taking office, we shocked the Washington establishment and withdrew from the last administration's job-killing Trans-Pacific Partnership.
We never actually joined it.
I then
so
immediately approved the Keystone XL and Dakota Access pipelines,
hey, Andy, you're up late.
ended the unfair and very costly Paris Climate Accord,
Us and North
secured
Korea.
for the first time
Those are the only two
American
countries who
energy
bowed out.
independence.
We are not energy independent. That's not true.
We passed record-setting tax and regulation cuts at a rate nobody had ever seen before. Within 3 short years, we built the strongest economy in the history of the world.
Not true
Washington
at all.
insiders
Not
asked me
even
not
close.
to stand up to China. They
2.1%
pleaded with me
GDP
to let
growth.
China continue stealing our jobs, ripping us off, and robbing our country blind. But I kept my word to the American people. We took the toughest, boldest, strongest, and hardest hitting action against China in American history by far. They said that it would be impossible to terminate and replace NAFTA. But again, they were wrong. Earlier this year, I ended the NAFTA nightmare and signed the brand new U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement into law.
Yeah, NUFTA is 95% exactly the same as NAFTA.
And right now, auto companies and others are building their plants and factories in America, not firing their employees, and not deserting us for other countries.
Yeah, she's not in here, is she?
In perhaps no area did the Washington special interests try harder to stop us.
Dr.
than
Howard,
on
if you're
my
out there, say hi.
policy of pro-American immigration. But I refuse to back down, and today America's borders are more secure than ever before.
Well, no one wants to come here, and we can't leave, so that's pretty secure. He might be telling the truth there.
Thank you. We ended catch and release, stopped asylum fraud, took down human traffickers who prey on women and children, and we have deported 20,000 gang members and 500,000 criminal aliens. We have already built 300 miles of border wall, and we are adding 10 new miles every single week. The wall will soon be complete, and it is working beyond our wildest expectations.
Is it, though? Is that what is keeping people out? It's the wall? The fence.
We are joined this evening by members of the Border Patrol Union representing our country's courageous border agents. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Brave, brave people.
Yay for grandsons. USA. USA. Chicken, beef, pork. Chicken, beef,
You
pork.
see, this country loves our law enforcement. They do. They do. They really do.
Uh-oh,
Love
he's
and
off-roading.
respect. When I learned that the Tennessee Valley Authority laid off hundreds of American workers and forced them to train their lower-paid foreign replacement, I promptly removed the chairman of the board, and now those talented American workers have been rehired and are back providing power to Georgia, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, North Carolina, and Virginia. They have their old jobs back, and some are here with us this evening. Please stand. You went through a lot. Please stand. Thank you. Thank you very much. You've been through a lot. Thank you very much. Last month, I took on Big Pharma. You think that's easy? It's not. And signed orders that will massively lower the cost of your prescription drugs and give critically ill patients access to life-saving cures.
He always calls it massively lowering.
We passed the decades-long-awaited right to try. Right to try.
The decades-long-awaited?
We also passed VA accountability and VA choice.
That was
Great
2014.
veterans for
That was
taking care of our
Obama.
veterans.
Yeah. You expanded it slightly, and
91%
then
approval rating this month. The VA
in May,
given by our
they took it
veterans.
back
First time anything
because
like
of the
that's ever
coronavirus.
happened. By the end of my first term, we will have approved more than 300 federal judges, including 2 great new Supreme Court justices.
No masks. Not a one.
And to bring prosperity to our forgotten inner cities, we worked hard to pass historic criminal justice reform, prison reform, opportunity zones, and long-term funding of historically black colleges and universities. And before the China virus came in, produced the best unemployment numbers for African Americans, Hispanic Americans, and Asian Americans ever recorded. And I say very modestly that I have done more for the African American community than any president since Abraham Lincoln.
That's so
our
modest.
First Republican president.
The Civil Rights Act was kind of a big deal too, but you know, low-wage jobs in the inner cities, I guess. A lot of old people with no masks.
And I have done more in 3 years for the black community than Joe Biden has done in 47 years.
Look at all the black people cheering.
And when I'm reelected, the best is yet to come.
He's boring tonight. I'm boring tonight. 4 more beers. 4 more beers. 4 more beers. 4 more beers. Grow more beards. Grow more beards.
When I took office, the Middle East was in total chaos. ISIS was rampaging, Iran was on the rise, and the war in Afghanistan had no end in sight. I withdrew from the terrible one-sided Iran nuclear deal. Unlike many presidents before me, I kept my promise, recognized Israel's true capital, and moved our embassy to Jerusalem. But not only did we talk about it as a future site, we got it built. Rather than spending $1 billion on a new building as planned, we took an already owned existing building in a better location. Real estate deal, right? And opened it at a cost of less than $500,000. Many things like that government is doing right now. We also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. And this month we achieved the first Middle East peace deal in 25 years. Thank you to UAE. Thank you to Israel. In addition, we obliterated 100% of the ISIS caliphate and killed its founder and leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. Then, in a separate operation, we eliminated the world's #1 terrorist by far, Qasem Soleimani. Unlike previous administrations, I have kept America out of new wars, and our troops are coming home. We have spent nearly $2.5 trillion on completely rebuilding our military, which was very badly depleted when I took office, as you know.
It was not.
This
we had
includes
ammunition.
3 separate pay raises for our great warriors.
Yeah, they get pay raises. That's how it works every year.
We also launched the Space Force, the first new branch of the United States military since the Air Force was created almost 75 years ago.
Good, more government.
We have spent the last 4 years reversing the damage Joe Biden inflicted over the last 47 years. Biden's record is a shameful roll call of the most catastrophic betrayals and blunders in our lifetime.
Yeah, Obama didn't think so.
He has spent his entire career on the wrong side of history. Biden voted for the NAFTA disaster, the single worst trade deal ever enacted. He supported
just
China's
reenacted
entry into the World Trade Organization, one of the greatest economic disasters of all time. After those Biden calamities, the United States lost 1 in 4 manufacturing jobs.
I started watching it. I think we got into 4 episodes of it. I couldn't do it anymore.
New Hampshire,
Space Force.
Pennsylvania, and many other states. They didn't want to hear Biden's hollow words of empathy. They wanted their jobs back. As vice president, he supported the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which would have been a death sentence for the U.S. auto industry. He backed the horrendous South Korea trade deal, which took many jobs from our country and which I've reversed and made a great deal for our country.
Biden saved the auto
He repeatedly
industry.
supported mass amnesty for illegal immigrants.
Remember that?
He voted for
Ford
the
was the
Iraq
only one that
War.
wasn't going to go away, and we bailed him
He opposed
out.
the mission to take out Osama bin Laden. He opposed killing Soleimani. He oversaw the rise of ISIS and cheered the rise of China as a positive development for America and the world, some positive development. That's why China supports Joe Biden and desperately wants him to win. I can tell you that.
Who does Russia
upon
support?
Very good information. China would own our country if Joe Biden got elected. Unlike Biden, I will hold them fully accountable for the tragedy that they caused all over the world. In recent months, our nation and the world has been hit by the once-in-a-century pandemic that China allowed to spread around the globe. They could have stopped it, but they allowed it to come out.
You could have stopped
We are grateful to be
it.
joined tonight by several of our
Every other
incredible
country's
nurses
managed
and
to do a
first
better job
responders.
with it than we have.
Please stand and accept our profound thanks and gratitude.
Developed nation. China owns a
Many
couple of
Americans,
trillion worth of our debt.
including me, have sadly lost friends and cherished loved ones to this horrible disease. As one nation, we mourn, we grieve, and we hold in our hearts forever the memories of all of those lives that have been so tragically taken.
That is what
So
Biden said
unnecessary.
in his
In
address.
their honor, we will unite.
That they may be
their
gone from this
memory,
earth, but they
we
will
will
live on
overcome.
in our hearts. That's
And
exactly
when
what
the China
Biden
virus
said.
hit, we launched the largest national mobilization since World War II. Invoking the Defense Production Act, we produced the world's largest supply of ventilators. Not
Still
a
don't have
single
enough
American
tests.
who has needed a ventilator has been denied a ventilator, which is a miracle.
Still don't have enough PPE.
Good
PP
job
and E, as Don Jr.
heading the
says.
task force by our great Vice President. Thank you very much, Mike. Please stand up.
Did Pence even mention the task force in his speech yesterday? Oh, wait. Go back to Melania. Go back. Damn it.
We shipped hundreds of millions of masks, gloves, and gowns to our frontline healthcare workers. To protect our nation's seniors, we rushed supplies, testing kits, and personal to nursing homes. We gave everything you can possibly give, and we're still giving it because we're taking care
Personnel,
of our
not
senior
personal.
citizens.
He never gets that word right. We rushed
The
personnel
Army Corps
to
of
nursing
Engineers
homes.
built field hospitals.
Not personal.
And the Navy deployed our great hospital ships. We developed from scratch the largest and most advanced testing system anywhere in the world.
China.
America has tested more than every country in Europe put together and more than every nation in the Western Hemisphere combined. Think of that. We have conducted 40 million more tests than the next closest nation,
That's
which
not
is
true.
India. We
Nope.
developed
China's
a
number
wide
one,
array
Russia's
of
number
effective
3.
treatments, including a powerful antibody treatment known as convalescent plasma. You saw that on Sunday night when we
You're
announced
the only one who
that
calls it
will
plasma.
save thousands and thousands of lives. Thanks to advances,
3 to 5%.
we have pioneered the
Not 35.
fatality rate.
That was a lie.
And you look at it and you look at the numbers, it has been reduced by 80% since April. 80%. The United States has among the lowest case fatality rates of any major country anywhere in the world.
Not true.
The European Union's case fatality rate is nearly 3 times higher than ours, but you don't hear that. They don't write about that.
Because
they don't want to write
nobody
about that.
uses
They
that
don't
as a
want you
metric.
to know those things.
It says right on the
Altogether,
site,
nations
our
of
world in
Europe
data, that is a
have
poor
experienced
metric
a
to use during a
30% greater
pandemic.
increase in excess mortality than the United States. Think of that. We enacted the largest package of financial relief in American history. Thanks to our Paycheck Protection Program, we have saved or supported more than 50 million American jobs. That's one of the reasons that
Woohoo!
we're
Socialism!
advancing so rapidly with our economy. Great
Yeah,
job.
you're just taking
As a
on the
result,
debt.
we have seen the smallest economic contraction of any major Western nation, and we are recovering at a much faster rate
That
than
is complete
anybody.
nonsense. Complete
Over the
nonsense.
past 3 months, we have gained over 9
That's-
million jobs, and that's a record in the history of our country.
They're jobs that have returned from
Unfortunately,
temporary
from the
layoff.
beginning, our opponents have shown themselves capable of nothing but a partisan ability to criticize. When I took bold action to issue a travel ban on China very early indeed, Joe Biden called it hysterical and xenophobic.
Nope, he
And
didn't.
then I introduced a ban on Europe very early again. If we had listened to Joe, hundreds of thousands more Americans would have died. Instead of following the science, Joe Biden wants to inflict a painful shutdown on the entire country. His shutdown would inflict unthinkable and lasting harm on our nation.
I should pause for a second here. He takes credit for hundreds of thousands, saving hundreds of thousands of lives by doing the travel ban, which wasn't a travel ban. He didn't stop any flights. There were many, many countries that didn't stop flights or Chinese citizens or anybody who traveled to China from coming in. And yet we're still leading the world in deaths. We still have 23% of the world's deaths. Stopping some people from coming in from China and Europe, it was too little and too late. Otherwise, there'd be other countries out there that never stopped any of the flow, and they would have hundreds of thousands of dead. But nobody does. It's nonsense. It's completely provable with a small amount of thought. I think we're going to have to skip ahead here.
Ask Americans to safely return to work and to school.
A mask.
And we want to see so many of those great states be open by Democrats. We want them to be open. They have to be open. They have to get back to work. They have to get back to work, and they have to get back to school. Most importantly, we are marshaling America's scientific genius to produce a vaccine in record time. Under Operation Warp Speed, we have 3 different vaccines in the final stage of trials. Right now, years ahead of what has been achieved before. Nobody thought it could ever be done this fast. Normally it would be years, and we did it in a matter of a few months. We're producing them in advance so that hundreds of millions of doses will be quickly available. We will have a safe and effective vaccine this year, and together we will crush
You don't
the
know
virus.
that. Yes, that would be great. But you can't say that. You have to say
At the
hopefully.
Democrat convention, you barely heard a word about their agenda. But that's not
You don't even
because
have a
they don't
fucking
have
platform.
one. It's because their agenda is the most extreme set of proposals ever put forward by a major party nominee. Joe Biden may claim he is an ally of the light, but when it comes to his agenda, Biden wants to keep us completely in the dark. He doesn't have a clue.
You can go to the
He has
website and see the
pledged a
agenda.
$4
The
trillion
Republicans do
tax
not
hike
have a platform
on
this year.
almost
There's
all
literally
American
no
families,
platform.
which will totally collapse our rapidly improving economy, and once again, record stock markets that we have right now will also collapse. That means your 401ks, that means all of the stocks that you have. On the other hand, just as I did in my first term,
Stock market
I will
tripled
cut taxes even
under
further
Obama, Biden.
for hardworking moms
Tripled.
and dads. I will not raise taxes. I will cut them, and very substantially.
Promises, promises.
And we will also provide tax credits to bring jobs out of China back to America, and we will impose tariffs on any company that
That's
leaves
socialism.
America to produce jobs overseas.
You can't.
We will make sure our companies
You're
and
Republican.
jobs stay in our country,
Free
as I've already
trade.
been doing for quite some time, if you've noticed. Joe Biden's agenda is made in China. My agenda is made in the USA.
Yeah, it took him 8 years, but he tripled the stock market. He didn't do it. The stock market handles itself. NASDAQ is at a high. The S&P 500 is a high. It's all tech
Biden's
stocks.
promise
Take the
to
tech stocks
abolish
out of the
production
equation,
of
and we're
American
in
oil,
bad shape.
Coal, shale, and natural gas, laying waste to the economies of Pennsylvania, Ohio, Texas, North Dakota, Oklahoma, Colorado, and New Mexico, destroying those states, absolutely destroying those states and others. Millions of jobs will be lost, and energy prices will soar. These same policies led to crippling power outages in California just last week. Everybody saw that.
Crippling.
Tremendous power outage. Nobody's seen anything like it, but we saw that last week.
What are you
in
talking about? It
California.
happens all the time.
How can Joe Biden claim to be an
This
ally
used
of
to
the
happen. We went through a massive
his own
heat wave.
party can't even
This used
keep
to
the
happen
lights
20
on.
years ago, all the time. Oh, I missed the joke. Damn it.
Joe Biden's campaign has even published a 110-page policy platform. You can't get away from this. Co-authored with far-left Senator Crazy Bernie Sanders.
I guess 80 pages, but okay.
The Biden-Bernie manifesto calls for suspending all removals of illegal aliens, implementing nationwide catch and release, and providing illegal aliens with free, taxpayer-funded lawyers.
Yeah, he's
Everybody
off-roading
gets
now.
a lawyer. Come on over to our country. Everybody has a lawyer. We have a lawyer for you. That's what we need is more lawyers.
Well, that's, Constitution, but
Joe Biden recently raised his hand on the debate stage and promised to your giveaway he was going to give it away,
what?
your health care dollars to illegal immigrants, which is going to bring massive number of immigrants into our country. Massive numbers will pour into our country
Massive
in order
number.
to get all of the goodies that they want to give.
Yeah, he's gone full
Education,
rally mode
healthcare,
now.
Everything. He also supports deadly sanctuary cities that protect criminal aliens.
So does the
He
Supreme
promised
Court.
to end national security travel bans from jihadist nations, and he pledged to increase refugee admissions by 700%.
Yeah, because you've shrunk them so
This is
drastically.
in
These are
The
refugees.
manifesto.
These are God's
The Biden
children.
plan would eliminate America's borders in the middle of a global pandemic, and he's even talking about taking the wall down. How about that? Biden also vowed to oppose school choice and close all charter schools, ripping away the ladder of
No.
opportunity for black and
No.
Hispanic children.
No, he
In a
didn't.
second term, I will expand charter schools and provide school choice to every family in America.
We have a public school system. If it's broken in some places, fix it. You want
And
to
we
talk
will
about more
always treat our
government?
teachers with the tremendous respect that they deserve. Great people.
He is so against the
great
teachers'
people.
union. Has attacked
Joe
teachers'
Biden
unions over and
claims
over.
He has empathy for the vulnerable, yet the party he leads supports the extreme late-term abortion of defenseless babies right up until the moment of birth.
That's called birth.
Democrat leaders talk about moral decency, but they have no problem with stopping a baby's beating heart in the 9th month of pregnancy. Democrat politicians refuse to protect innocent life, and then they lecture us about morality and saving America's
That's a
soul.
birth.
Tonight, we proudly declare that all children, born and unborn, have a God-given right to life.
In cages, if they weren't born here.
During the Democrat convention, the words "under God" were removed from the Pledge of Allegiance. Not once, but twice. We will never do that. But the fact is,
It was on the broadcast
this is
all
where
4 nights
they're coming from.
with the
Like
words
it or
"in
not,
God,"
this is
which
where
were
they're coming
added in 1954
If
for
the
some
left
reason.
gains power, they will demolish the suburbs, confiscate your guns,
Yeah.
and appoint justices who will wipe away your Second Amendment and other constitutional freedoms.
Kevin
Biden
looks
is
like
a
he's hearing this for
Trojan
the first
horse
time.
for socialism. If Joe Biden doesn't have the strength to stand up to wild-eyed Marxists like Bernie Sanders and his fellow radicals, and there are many, we see them all the time, it's incredible actually, then how is he ever going to stand up for you? He's not. The most dangerous aspect of the Biden platform is the attack on public safety. The Biden-Bernie manifesto calls for abolishing cash bail immediately releasing 400,000 criminals onto the streets and into your neighborhoods. When asked if he supports cutting police funding, Joe Biden replied, yes, absolutely.
Nope.
When Congresswoman Ilhan Omar called the Minneapolis Police Department a cancer that is rotten to the root, Biden wouldn't disavow her support and reject her endorsement. He proudly displayed it shortly later on his website. Displayed it in big letters.
Shortly later?
Make no mistake, if you give power to Joe Biden, the radical left will defund police departments all across America. They will pass federal legislation to reduce law enforcement nationwide.
Nope.
They will make every city
He
look
wants
like
to increase funding to the
Democrat-run
police.
Portland, Oregon. No
Oregon.
one will be safe in Biden's America. My administration will always stand with
Yes.
the men and women of law enforcement. Every day, police officers risk their lives to keep us safe, and every year, many sacrifice their lives in the line of duty.
This has gone on too long.
One of these incredible Americans was Detective Miostas Familia. She was part of a team of American heroes called the NYPD, or New York's Finest, who I was very, very proud to get their endorsement just the other day.
It's about
Great
you.
people. Great,
Yep,
great people.
there you go. Good job making it about you.
They were allowed to do their job. You'd have no crime in New York.
Weren't we just
Giuliani
talking
knows
about
that
someone,
better than anybody.
though? Someone?
Thank you, Rudy.
We were talking about someone
3
else.
years ago, on the 4th of July weekend, Detective Familia was on duty in her vehicle when she was ambushed just after midnight and murdered by a monster
Joe
who
Biden,
hated her
right?
purely for wearing the badge. Detective Familia was a single mom. She recently asked for the night shift so she could spend more time with her kids. 2 years ago, I stood in front of the U.S. Capitol alongside those beautiful children and held their grandmother's hand as they mourned their terrible loss, and we honored Detective Familia's extraordinary life. It was extraordinary. Detective Familia's 3 children are with us this evening. Genesis, Peter, Delilah, we are so grateful to have you here tonight. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's so sad.
Thank you very much. I promise you that we will treasure your mom in our memories forever. We must remember that the overwhelming majority of police officers in this country,
What?
and that's the overwhelming majority, are noble, courageous, and honorable. We have to give law enforcement, our police, back their power. They are afraid to act. They are afraid to lose their pension. They are afraid to lose their jobs. And by being...
Hold up, kids. I'm gonna switch coverage here so that we can go back if we need to, because he's starting to lose it. Okay, and we go live. Give me just a second here, and it'll be here. We'll get the CNN feed. No, we'll get the Fox News feed. Join live. Start from the beginning. Oh my God, no.
Republican Party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence we have seen in Democrat-run cities all
There we go.
their jobs, and by being afraid they are not able to do
A little bit farther. Good kids.
I promise you that we will treasure your mom in our memories forever. We must remember that the overwhelming majority of police officers in this country, and that's the overwhelming majority,
In the
are noble, courageous, and honorable. We have to give law enforcement, our police, back their power. They are afraid to act. They are afraid to lose their pension. They are afraid to lose their jobs. And by being afraid, they are not able to do the job that they so desperately want to do for you. And those who suffer most are the great people
the police aren't doing a good job because
who
they're
they
afraid?
protect and who they want to protect at an even higher level. When there is police misconduct, the justice system must hold wrongdoers fully and completely accountable, and it will. But when we can never have a situation
Yeah? Where you
where
going?
things are going on
Uh-huh.
as they are today,
Yeah?
we must never allow mob rule. We can never allow mob rule.
Oh, okay.
In the strongest possible terms, the Republican Party condemns the rioting, looting, arson, and violence we have seen in Democrat-run cities all, like Kenosha, Minneapolis, Portland, Chicago, and New York, and many others, Democrat-run. There is violence and danger in the streets of many Democrat-run cities throughout America. This problem could easily be fixed if they wanted to. Just call. We're ready to go in. We'll take care of your problem in a matter of hours. Just call. We have to wait for the call.
What about your
It's
fan
too
who
bad we
killed
have
two
to, but
people
we have to wait
the
for
other
the
day
call.
in Kenosha?
We must always
a
have
Democrat.
law and order. All
He's a
federal
17-year-old
crimes are
Trump
being
fan.
investigated, prosecuted, and punished to the fullest extent of the law. When the anarchists started ripping down our statues and monuments right outside, I signed an order immediately, 10 years in prison, and it was a miracle. It all stopped. No more statues.
No, the law already existed.
They said, that's just too long
he
as they
didn't do
looked at a
anything. He
statue.
just
I think
signed an
we'll rip it
executive
down.
order
Then they
saying,
said 10 years in
"I like
prison.
this
I
law."
think that's too long. Let's go home. During their convention, Joe Biden and his supporters remained completely silent about the rioters and criminals spreading mayhem in Democrat-run cities. They never even mentioned it during their entire convention. Never once mentioned. Now they're starting to mention it because their poll numbers are going down like a rock in water.
I thought you didn't pay attention to poll numbers.
It's
They're
too late,
suppression
Joe.
polls, remember?
In the face of left-wing anarchy and mayhem in Minneapolis, Chicago, and other cities, Joe Biden's campaign did not condemn it. They donated to it. At least 13 members of Joe Biden's campaign staff donated to a fund to bail out vandals, arsonists, anarchists, looters, and rioters from jail. Here tonight is the grieving family of retired police captain David Dorn, a 38-year veteran of the St. Louis Police
He's wearing a
Department, a
mask, but
great
he's got it
man
on
and a
wrong.
highly respected man by all. In June, Captain Dorn was shot and killed as he tried to protect a store from rioters and looters, or as the Democrats would call them, peaceful protesters.
Or they call them rioters.
They call them peaceful protesters.
I don't know what you called them.
In June, Captain Dorn was shot and killed as he tried to protect a store from rioters and looters, or as the Democrats
Wyatters? Like Wyatt Earp? Big Wyatt Earp fans.
would call them peaceful protesters. They call them peaceful protesters.
They call them Wyatters.
We're honored to be joined tonight by his wonderful wife, Ann, and beloved family members, Brian and Kaylin. To each of you, we will never forget the heroic legacy of Captain David Dorn. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you.
Biden.
Thank you very much. Great man. Great man.
No, he hasn't mentioned Jacob Blake
As
or
long
the
as
two
I am
people who got
president,
shot
we will
and
defend
killed.
the absolute right of every
Was it
American
Tuesday?
citizen to live in security, dignity, and peace. If the Democrat Party wants to stand with anarchists, agitators, rioters, looters, and flag burners,
They do not.
that is up to
They
them.
condemn that.
But I, as your president, will not be a part of it. The Republican Party will remain the voice of the patriotic heroes who keep America safe and salute the American flag.
Oh, he's been going on about an hour now, a little over an hour.
Last year, over 1,000 African Americans were murdered as a result of violent crime in just 4 Democrat-run cities. The top 10 most dangerous cities in the country are run by Democrats and
No,
have
they're
been
not.
for many decades.
Not if you do it per
Thousands
capita.
more African Americans are victims
Alaska
of
has
violent
the
crime
most
in
dangerous
these
cities.
communities. Joe Biden and the left ignore these American victims. I never will. If the radical left takes power, they will apply their disastrous policies to every city, town, and suburb in America. Just
You're the
imagine
president
if
right
the
now. Did you know
so-called
that?
peaceful demonstrators in the streets were in charge of every lever of power in the U.S. government. Just think of that. Liberal politicians claim to be concerned about the strength of American institutions. But who exactly is attacking them? Who is hiring the radical professors, judges, and prosecutors? Who is trying to abolish immigration enforcement and establish speech codes designed to muzzle dissent? In every case, the attacks on American institutions are being waged by radical left. Always remember, they are coming after me because I am fighting for you. That's what's happening.
Dude, you tried to ban Goodyear.
And it's been going on from before I even got elected. And remember this, they spied on my
Speech
campaign
code. They did
and
not.
they got caught.
They
Let's
did
see
not.
now what happens. We must reclaim our independence from the left's repressive
It's always, we'll
mandates.
see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Americans are exhausted.
That's going to be
trying
hey,
to
Harold,
keep
that's
up
gonna
with
be
the
October
latest
surprise, by the way.
lists of approved words and phrases and the ever more restrictive political decrees. Many things have a different name now, and the rules are constantly changing. The goal of cancel culture is to make decent Americans live in fear of being fired,
Goodyear.
expelled,
Apple.
shamed, humiliated,
NFL.
and driven from society
NBA.
as we know it. The far left wants to coerce you into saying what you know to be false and scare you out of saying
Sears.
what you know to be true. Very sad.
What?
But on November 3rd, you can send them a very thundering message they will never forget.
I hope he loses by 30 million votes this time. Otherwise, this kind of crap is just going to keep happening. Look at all those
Thank
empty
you.
chairs.
Thank you very much. Joe Biden is weak. He takes his marching orders from liberal hypocrites who drive their cities into the ground while fleeing far from the scene of the wreckage. These same liberals want to eliminate school
What?
choice while they enroll their children in the finest private schools in the land. They want to open our borders while living in Waldorf compounds and communities in the best neighborhoods in the world.
Yeah, the suburbs.
They want
But
to
you just
defund
got
the
done saying
police
Biden's going
while
to
they have
abolish the
armed
suburbs.
guards for themselves.
D-
This November, we must turn the page forever on this failed political class. The fact is, I'm here.
I think they just, like, no one wanted to write the whole speech. So they're just, you write one page, and you write one page, and you write one page. Because this is all discordant. He keeps contradicting stuff that he said 10 minutes ago.
What's the name of that building?
What?
Forever on this failed political class. The fact is, I'm here. What's the name of that building?
It's the People's House.
But I'll say it differently. The fact is, we're here and they're not.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't go. 1,500 people, none of them wearing masks? No.
To me, one of the most beautiful buildings anywhere in the world, and it's not a building, it's a home as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, it's a building.
Not even a
this
house,
is the
it's
great
a
builder.
home. It's a wonderful place
It's-
with an incredible history.
It's a building.
But it's all because of you.
It can be both.
Together we will write the next chapter of the great American story. Over the next 4 years, we will make America into the manufacturing superpower of the world. We will expand opportunity zones. Thank you, Tim Scott. Bring home our medical supply chains, and we will end our resilience for bad
Nope.
things. We will go right after China. We will not rely on them
Yeah,
one
reliance.
bit. We're
not
taking our
resilience.
business,
We will end our resilience.
our medical supply chains,
Uh-huh.
and we will end our resilience for bad things. We will go
Now he's got to do his verbal kitty litter trying to cover up the turd.
right after China. We will not rely on them one bit. We're taking our business out of China. We are bringing it home. We want our business to come home. We will continue to reduce taxes
Bring back
and
our
regulations
resilience.
at levels not seen before. We will create 10 million jobs in the next 10 months, and it'll be higher than that. We will hire more police, increase penalties for assaults on law enforcement, and surge federal prosecutors into high-crime communities. We will ban deadly sanctuary cities and ensure that federal health care is protected
Can't.
for
Supreme Court
American
says you can't do
citizens,
that.
not for illegal aliens.
The Supreme Court says you cannot do that because
We
it's
will have strong
unconstitutional.
borders. And I've said for years, without borders, we don't have a country.
We do.
Don't have a country.
Yeah.
Strike down terrorists who threaten our people, and keep America out of endless and costly foreign wars.
Yes, I know, but he read resilience.
We will appoint prosecutors, judges, justices who believe in enforcing the law, not enforcing their own political agenda, which is illegal. We will ensure equal justice for citizens of every race, religion, color, and creed.
If only there was some way to get rid of a bad judge. Like if you could somehow... what would that process be?
We will uphold your religious liberty and defend your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms.
Again, 1,000 black men dying in 4 cities, but we got to have that Second Amendment.
And if we don't win, your Second Amendment doesn't have a chance. I can tell you that. I have totally protected it.
First off, he hasn't signed any legislation whatsoever to protect the Second Amendment. Secondly, it's an amendment to the Constitution. You can't just get rid of it. It's a process, and it's not happening, no matter who wins.
We will protect Medicare and Social Security. We will always and very strongly protect patients with pre-existing conditions, and that is a pledge from the entire Republican Party. Thank you, Kevin.
You're welcome.
We will end surprise medical billing, require price transparency, and further reduce the cost of prescription drugs and health insurance premiums.
4 days until we get our tremendous health care plan.
They're coming way down. We will greatly expand energy development continuing to remain the #1 in the world and keep America energy independent.
We're not.
And for those of you that still drive a car, look how low your gasoline bill is. You haven't seen that in a long time.
It's
We
like
will win the
340 in
race
LA.
to 5G and build the world's best cyber and missile defense, already under construction. We will fully restore patriotic education to our schools and always protect. We will always, always protect free speech on college campuses. And we put a very big penalty in. They do anything having to do with your free speech.
Yeah, David,
Colleges
it's supply
have
and
to
demand.
pay a tremendous, tremendous financial penalty. And again, it's amazing how open they've been lately. We will launch a new age of American ambition in space. America will land the first woman on the moon, and the United States will be the first nation to plant its beautiful flag on Mars.
Okay.
This is the unifying national agenda that will bring our country together.
This is all stuff that he
So
said
tonight
before.
I say to all Americans,
Nothing new.
this is the most
No
important
platform.
election in the history of our country. There has never been such a difference between two parties or two
Well, I mean-
individuals in ideology, philosophy.
It can be argued that the elections running up to the Civil War were also pretty important. And the very first election under the new Constitution, not the first election we ever had, because that was under the Articles of Confederation, and that's why we had 8 presidents before we had George Washington.
Or vision than there is right
Sent
now.
AOC to the moon.
Our opponents believe that America is a depraved nation.
No,
We want
they do
our
not.
sons and daughters to know the truth. America is the greatest and most exceptional nation in the history of the world.
That's pretty good.
Our country wasn't built by cancel culture, speech codes, and soul-crushing
What is with the
conformity.
speech codes?
We are not a nation of timid spirits. We are a nation of fierce, proud, and independent American patriots. We're a nation of pilgrims, pioneers, adventurers, explorers, and trailblazers who refuse to be tied down, held back, or in any way reined in. Americans have steel in their spines, grit in their souls, and fire in their hearts. There is no one like us on earth. I want every child in America to know that you are part of the most exciting and incredible adventure in human history. No matter where your family comes from, no matter your background in America, anyone can rise. With hard work, devotion, and drive, you can reach any goal and achieve every ambition. Our American ancestors sailed across the perilous ocean to build a new life on a new continent. They
Pioneered
braved
science.
the freezing winters, crossed the raging rivers, scaled the rocky peaks, trekked the dangerous forests, and worked from dawn till dusk. These pioneers didn't have money, they didn't have fame, but they had each other. They loved their families, they loved their country, and they loved their God. When opportunity beckoned,
Well, some of them were fleeing
They
religious
picked up their
persecution,
Bibles.
But yeah,
packed up their belongings, climbed into their covered wagons,
or their Korans.
and set out west for the next adventure. Ranchers and miners, cowboys and sheriffs, farmers and settlers, they pressed on past the Mississippi
Why is
to
he
stake a
reading
claim
this?
in the wild frontier. Legends were born.
killing natives along the way.
Annie Oakley,
There, Wyatt.
Davy
I told you
Crockett,
guys.
and Buffalo Bill.
He's a big Wyatter.
Americans built their beautiful homesteads on the open range. Soon they had churches and communities, then
What are we
towns,
doing?
and with time,
What is happening
great
right now?
centers of industry and commerce. That is who they were. Americans build their future. We don't tear down our past. We are the nation that won a revolution, toppled tyranny and fascism, and delivered millions into freedom. We laid down the railroads, built the great ships, raised up the skyscrapers, revolutionized industry, and sparked a new age of scientific discovery. We set the trends in art and music, radio and film,
Oh,
sport and literature,
why?
and we
Why
did
would
it
you put
all with
this?
style and
Why would you put this at the end of an hour and a half speech? Why?
confidence and flair, because that is who we are. Whenever our way of life was
6 hours
threatened,
later.
our heroes answered the call. From Yorktown to Gettysburg, from Normandy to Iwo Jima, American patriots raced into cannon blasts, bullets, and bayonets to rescue American liberty. They had no fear, but America didn't stop there. We looked into the sky and kept pressing onward. We built a 6 million pound rocket and launched it thousands of miles into space. We did it so that two brave patriots could stand tall and salute our wondrous American flag planted on the face of the moon. For America, nothing is
What
impossible.
about the guy in the capsule? He didn't
Over the
count?
next 4 years,
God, that sucks.
we will prove worthy of this magnificent legacy. We will reach stunning new heights, and we will show that the world, for America,
Did he say
there is a
cannon blast?
dream, and it is not beyond your reach. Together we are unstoppable.
Literally in America right now.
Together we are unbeatable, because together we are the proud citizens of the United States of America.
Okay. The best is yet to come.
And on November 3rd, we will make America safer.
He's sweating a storm.
We will make America stronger.
Stronger.
We will make America prouder.
And we'll make it greater.
And we will make America greater than ever before. I am very, very
10%
proud
unemployment.
to be the nominee of the Republican Party. I love you all. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, that was something. Oh, they're doing the fireworks. Turn around, everybody. That's kind of cool, though. Okay. All right. Oh, I tell you what, kids, it was all I could do to make it to the end of that. So I'm going to bid you adieu now. Oh my God. Trump 2020 and fireworks? That's a national park. That is our property. Wow. Kind of cool, but at the monument. At the monument. Wow. No, this is all paid for by the campaign. They said, send him the bill. Yeah. Okay. Well, tell you what, guys. Oh, here's the music. Yeah, you guys can watch this on your own TVs. It's going to be way better than watching it on a phone or whatever. So, enjoy, everyone. Probably get a copyright strike for that music as well. Hey, thanks for being here and helping me make it through that, because if I wasn't broadcasting, I would have fallen asleep or turned it off, one way or the other. So yeah, you guys have been a Wyatt tonight, and I appreciate that. Yeah. You're welcome, Kelly. Oh, hey, yeah, this is the live stream. We do this on an almost daily basis whenever Trump is lying, which is all the time. So if you're just joining us for the first time, welcome. Come back again sometime. Follow me on the Twitter at KevinLeeFather. You can subscribe on YouTube, right where you're watching it right now, if you're in that white chat room over there, that way. And then hit the little bell on YouTube so that you get notified when we're going live. And if you want to support me, go to KevinLeeFather.com. You can become a patron there and send me money. Or you can just send me money at these locations right here, paypal.me/KevinLeeDad or Venmo, all of that. So, wow. Next thing you know, we'll be having debates. So come back anytime. It's good to see you. Thanks for being here, everybody. Yeah, Rich, this was a long speech and very low energy, Jeb Bush. Okay, guys, we will see you another time. Should I do the credits or just leave the fireworks going for another minute or so? Let's do the credits. I'll put the credits up. Hey, if you want to get your name in the credits, just go on Patreon. Just go to KevinLeeFather.com. That'll take you to Patreon, and then you can get to be in the credits. Help me out. And if you don't have any resources to send my way, that's fine. Tell a friend. Bring somebody new in. We always love newcomers, fans of the president or not. Right, here's closing credits. I'll try and leave. I don't think I can't leave the chat up. I can leave, for those of you chatting on Periscope, I can leave you guys up, but otherwise, YouTube, you're gone. Good night, everybody. Be good. Nope, I can't even. Oh, maybe I can. There you go. Bye-bye. So, all you Twitter people, you can still chat during the end here. Okay. Good night. If anybody hears from Dr. Howard, shoot me a DM or something. Let me know that she's okay.
Kevin, is this helpful to Joe Biden?
Wait, what?